for a team that's won a couple of conference titles and a number of divisional titles. Haven't been to the finals since 1998. In come Mike Conley, Ed Davis, Jeff Green, Emmanuel Mudiay, and Bojan Bogdanovich. Out goes Jay Crowder, Derek Favors, as well as Ricky Rubio and some other bit pieces, Kyle Korver, things like that. But the Jazz have a brand new cast of characters to go along with their two dynamic young superstars in Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And the boys in the desert think the Jazz are the 7th team as far as favorites to win the NBA title. ESPN's Power Rankings has the Jazz as the 5th team in the Western Conference behind the Clippers, the Lakers, the Rockets, and the Nuggets. Let's start with Utah's young superstar Donovan Mitchell, who's been asked to do a lot over his first 2 years in the NBA. Quite frankly, he's been asked to do too much, in my opinion. If the Jazz are going to be a contender in this league in the Western Conference, Donovan actually has to be better than he has been so far. The good news is we've seen Donovan improve and take leaps and bounds over his first couple of seasons, so there's no indication that he can't get better. But he has to be better with his decision-making, his efficiency, shooting percentages, come down with the turnovers a little bit. Now, the addition of Mike Conley is going to help him out for sure, but a lot of people around here, including myself, really love Donovan Mitchell. But make no mistake, if the Jazz are going to be better, this young superstar actually has to take another step up. His usage numbers will be up there with the James Hardens and LeBron James and Kawhi Leonards of the world. So when your usage is high, your efficiency also has to jump up a little bit. I love Donovan. He has a chance to be a special player in this league, but if he doesn't become more efficient as a third-year player, the Jazz title hopes will go out the window. We'll move over now to his backcourt mate, Mike Conley. I love Mike Conley. He won the NBA award for the best teammate in the league. Mike Conley is phenomenal in pick-and-roll basketball. Everybody in the NBA runs pick and roll, but nobody runs pick and roll more than Quinn Snyder, the Utah Jazz. That's why you bring in Mike Conley and you combine him with the best pick setter in the NBA and screen roller to the rim in the NBA and Rudy Gobert, and some very, very, very special things will happen. 2 years ago, Mike Conley suffered an Achilles injury, and it was a very, very serious one at that. He missed the majority of that season. Now, historically speaking, Mike has been pretty durable, but here's the drill. Mike is about to turn 32. And when you're on the wrong side of 30, a sprained ankle that maybe when you're 22 keeps you out a week, when you're 32, it might keep you out a month. Behind Mike Conley, you have Dante Exum, who I like an awful lot, but you guys know the score with Dante. Injuries have basically, in 5 years, Dante's really only played about 2 seasons. The third point guard on the roster is a guy named Emmanuel Mudiay. His splits are low, his efficiency is low. He's a big kid that can really guard in the post, but doesn't shoot it that well. So if Mike gets hurt, Dante can't stay healthy, and Emmanuel Mudiay has to give you 25 or 30 minutes a night, that's going to be a problem for the Utah Jazz. Let's move over now to Rudy Gobert. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to try and become the first player since Dwight Howard and the second player in NBA history to win 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards in a row. He doesn't have to change anything. He doesn't have to improve with anything. Now, you might be looking at me and saying, well, wait a second. Offensively, he could do this or that. Stop it. Okay, Rudy Gobert, as far as screen assists go, is probably the best in the NBA. Justin Zanuck, Utah Jazz general manager, on my show just a couple of weeks ago, called Rudy Gobert the most unselfish player in the NBA. Here's why. On defense, okay, if a guard gets beat, if a perimeter player gets beat, on the Utah Jazz, it's okay because Rudy's got your back. He's going to block the shot or he's going to alter and change the shot, which leads to a lot of missed shots, opportunities for runouts and fast breaks. The irresponsible hype for Rudy Gobert, I don't know, maybe MVP. Rudy's the one guy that responsible hype is simply this: Rudy, just keep being you. He's the most important player on the Jazz. He's the most unique player on the Jazz. There's not another Rudy Gobert in the NBA. We'll move on to another Jazz acquisition that a lot of people are really excited about. Dennis Lindsey, at the end of the playoff loss last year to Houston, gave a press conference to media, and he talked about the necessity for the Jazz to acquire quote-unquote snipers, right? Bojan Bogdanovich was about a 44.5% three-point shooter last year while taking 5 three-point shots a game. That's a massive, massive number. It's one thing if a guy shoots like 55% and shoots like 1 3 a game, and at the end of the week he's like 5 for 10. No, Bojan shoots it a lot and he makes it a lot, so that's good news. Last year in that playoff loss to Houston, Quinn Snyder and his staff were actually able systematically to get their players open, to get good shots. The problem is they just didn't have good shooters. Responsible hype with Bojan Bogdanovich is he's not the rebounder or defender Jay Crowder was. And if Quinn Snyder decides to go small with playing Bojan Bogdanovich and Joe Ingles alongside of, we'll call it Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, the Jazz are going to lose a lot when it comes to toughness, rebounding, and defense. So ironically enough, a team like the Jazz, who have had their identity entrenched in defense, toughness, and rebounding over the past 4 or 5 years. This year, they've sacrificed some of that in exchange for more of a scoring punch playmaking, but I would be a little bit wary about anointing this team just yet. And we'll finish on this as we talked about a bunch of the new acquisitions. I would trust a lot in Quinn Snyder. He is an elite head coach. I would trust in this front office that if something goes sideways, they're going to make the necessary changes. Responsible hype for the Utah Jazz probably looks something like in the neighborhood of between 52 to 54 wins. Anything beyond that, I think, is asking an awful lot. I like Portland. I like Denver. Not a big Houston Rocket guy. You guys, if you've been listening to me, you know my feelings on both Harden and Westbrook. But outside of the Clippers and the Lakers, the Jazz are going to be right there. So we'll revisit some of these topics to see if I was right or if I'm up in the night. And both of those things happen quite a bit when it comes to my career, so we'll have to see. So there you have it, this week's edition of Responsible Hype. I'm Spence Checketts. You can catch me 2 to 6, Monday through Friday on ESPN 700.